All right. Looks like we're live, folks.
All right. Dan said he'd be on.
Terrific.
Fantastic.
Might just be us.
All right.
Us three.
Yeah, they just have to, kind of listen to us talk for a minute here as we wait for Dan to join and the attendees to populate.
Yeah. We got a storm rolling through here in Leesburg, and the lights just flickered. So
hope we don't lose you, buddy.
I'm on battery power, so we should be okay.
All right. Very good. And Scott, you're down in Charleston?
Yeah, we had a little storm today too, but it's a hot one today. 95, I think it was.
Wow.
No, couldn't have been more than 92. Oh, you walked right into that one.
These are the jokes.
Okay, so for folks that are out there, looks like we're starting to populate. So welcome. We've got another minute or so here until we're officially supposed to start. But our last panelist is joining us momentarily as well. So we'll just give everybody a minute to populate here. But ultimately, time, tide, and formation wait for no man. Where have we heard that?
Have flashbacks.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know where this stuff comes from. I probably haven't thought of that in 15 years.
Yeah, it's deeply seated. Believe me, I think I just stopped my nightmares about a decade ago. So.
Oh yeah. Well, at least there's a whole new batch getting the COVID nightmares now. And TR handling it all. The good man that he is.
Oh, you talking about
all right.
Brett? Are you talking Brett?
No, TR Buchanan. He's commandant right now. He was my company mate and our classmate.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the carrier.
No, different. Another 92 connection there. Okay, well, I was hoping Dan would hop on here, but I'm sure he will. I hope he's not experiencing any challenges. Scott, have you gotten any feedback from Dan about issues or anything?
No, he said he was logging on now.
Okay. Well, we'll start the introductions for everybody and get things moving, not to waste anybody's time, and hopefully he'll pop in here soon. So good evening, everyone. From Alexandria, Virginia, I'm Shelby Mounts, class of 1992 and board member for the Greater Washington Chapter Alumni Association. And this is our first ever professional development roundtable. We're conducting it virtually tonight with two right now and hopefully a third soon. Naval Academy grads who have gone after their service to do great things in a variety of different formats. And we've had this strategic pillar now for a couple of years in the chapter to start to increase the professional development, networking, business development, career transition sort of opportunities in this chapter, given the high density of graduates in lots of interesting positions, both in and out of government, and the different opportunities that the Greater Washington area offers. We really should be more connected, and we should also have opportunities to talk to each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. And so with COVID and the inability to kind of return to our normal battle rhythm of the fall with things like the Distinguished Speaker Series, our football viewing parties at Ballard Brew Pub, our Navy Memorial recruiting events for admissions at the Naval Academy, and our just general socializing opportunities, we've decided that introducing a virtual roundtable like this might be a good way to bring people together, give us this opportunity to connect, be inspired by each other, and learn. And so I reached out to these three guys saying, hey, this is my idea. What do you think about spending a little bit of your time giving back to the community by telling us a little bit about yourself? How did you exit the service? What did you do that's interesting since then? What inspired you to do that stuff? And what are you doing today? so that we can then have a little bit of a Q&A discussion when it's all wrapped up. So I'm going to give each of the guys the opportunity to introduce themselves here for about 10 minutes or so apiece, and then Luis Martinez, our president, is in the background collecting any chat questions that the crowd out there sends in. And he'll text me the questions. We're going to give this a try, and I'll try my best to triage the questions to one of you guys to answer, and we'll have some follow-on conversation from the crowd. And we'll see how this works out. So again, appreciate your time and your willingness to talk to the crowd here. And I'm going to hand it off to Scott Mackes, class of 01. Coming, and the only one on the panel who's joining us from outside the Washington, D.C. area. Scott resides down outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So, Scott, could you take it away for us?
Sure. Thanks, Shelby. And I was actually in the D.C. area last weekend. But grew up in Maryland, went to the Naval Academy, graduated in 2001, and lived in the New England area for 14 years post-Navy, and then escaped the cold New England winters 2 years ago, moved down to Charleston, South Carolina. So if anybody on the call tonight is ever in the Charleston area, would love to grab a coffee with you next time you're in the area. But as a little bit about my story. So graduated 01, service warfare officer for 5 years. And I guess tonight, Shelby asked to talk about transitions. And for me, I guess there's probably two important transitions and professional transitions that I had, and I think probably the same for Bill and Dan. But the transition from military to the civilian world, the corporate world, and then the transition from the corporate world to the business world. Being in business for yourself. So those were, two, I guess somewhat difficult transitions, and happy to share some lessons learned through my experience. But kind of after I got out of the Navy in 06, finished up an MBA program, really found my passion for business through that program. I went to an evening MBA classes, and had never really taken any business classes prior to that, and really found my passion in that. And then worked in the construction industry for about 10 years. And probably halfway through that point, I realized that I wanted to do something on my own, and wanted to build a business, wanted to create ways to earn passive income, and really have a little bit more freedom in my life. So probably dating back to 2010 is when I started that journey, exploration journey. Tried a lot of different things. Most of them didn't work. And then after a few years, I kind of just hacked it around, trying different ideas to see what people might pay me for. I guess my first successful venture was an online store selling products related to Gallup's StrengthsFinder assessment. And so I spent a week in Omaha, Nebraska, going through Gallup's coaching program. And I really loved the StrengthsFinder assessment. I'm sure some people on the call have taken that. Over 20 million people today have taken that assessment. And it really helped me out from a personal development standpoint, figuring out what my top strengths were, what my talents were, and which ones I wasn't able to utilize in my day job, and then designing a business kind of around what I was uniquely good at, and then finding strengths-based partners that I could maybe partner with on different ventures. So through that experience, went through the coaching program, and then launched an online store called strengthsmugs.com, and that was my first win. So I remember launching the store on a Friday afternoon as I was leaving work, and it was as simple as I think probably the worst time to ever launch anything. It was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, and just posted a link to the store and a Facebook group that I was in that had about 5,000 members in it that were affiliated with Gallup. And then I sent a tweet to a best-selling author that I knew took the StrengthsFinder and had a couple 100,000 Twitter followers, and that was my launch. And then within 5 minutes, I got my first order the best-selling author, sent the link out to all of his followers, ended up becoming a customer. I think he's still a customer today. He orders the products for his new hires. And I was in business. And so after kind of a few years of hacking around, I kind of figured out a cool little passive income idea that was able to generate revenue. And so that was fun. So through that experience, I really saw a need within our community, within the Service Academy community, for myself, really, at the time, as somebody who was building a business, I saw the need for a community to be built of Academy grads who were entrepreneurs or who had entrepreneurial ideas, whether they just wanted to do something on the side, like I had done at the time, or they were in it full time. Saw a need for a support system. And just over 3 years ago, so May of 2017, I started the SABM group, the Service Academy Business Mastermind group, and basically just leveraged technology as a way to connect the community a little bit more efficiently, focused on the business owners. So, we started with a podcast. We've done over almost 150 podcast episodes over the last 3 years, almost 60,000 downloads of the podcast. We've been doing Zoom meetups, similar to this for the last 3 years, connecting grads across the country. And kind of just through doing that, offering some pretty cool free things that people could plug into and that people could leverage to just talk about their businesses, what they were doing, and provide some great learning to the listeners and the guests, and then also a great way to get new customers. And that's how I connected with Dan, who's on the call tonight. That's how I connected with Bill initially. Both were podcast guests when we first started out. So along the way, met some lots and lots of really great people. Some of them I've, formed different partnerships with and have launched different programs as I connected with people who had different skill sets. And today we've got an investor group, and that's funded over $3 million worth of deals, Academy grad and military veteran-led deals, real estate deals, and startups, which is really kind of thinking back on it, as we've gone through this COVID pandemic, that funding's probably very useful to them right now. So, investor group, we have a real estate investing course, and a number of and some other programs as well. So I guess kind of the thing I'd like to maybe highlight as far as advice or guidance, if there's anybody on the call tonight that's kind of trying to figure out what it is that they want to do or transition into. I remember, kind of being at my day job and thinking about, who is it that I really want to serve, and who is it that I really want to spend time with and phone calls with, and then ultimately creating businesses for myself where I could just connect with talk to those people all day long. And so with Strengths Mugs, I really like the Strengths Finder community, lots of great leaders and people who are interested in building their teams and interested in personal development. And those are all like-minded people that I like serving. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. And as it relates to the SABM group, all day long I get to talk to Academy grads who want to build something or try something new, from people who are just, I had a call this week from somebody who just made his first sale, started a new business, just made his first sale. And, so I might have a call like that, or I'll talk with somebody who might have, built be a deca-millionaire or something like that. And I like talking to everybody. So and I really enjoy it, and just happy to give back and help in any way that I can, or make introductions wherever I can. But I think it all kind of crystallized for me, and finding my purpose in life by creating businesses or an environment where I get to serve people that I really just enjoy serving. So that's a little bit about my story. I put my email in the chat if anybody wants to follow up afterwards. But Shelby, I appreciate you having me on the call tonight.
Hey, great job, Scott. I appreciate it. And you've done so many different things to try to foster this greater community. And, this is kind of my first foray, but I remember getting a LinkedIn message from you probably around January about SABM, and it sparked some interest in me. And then we connected on LinkedIn and through a phone call, and I started listening to some of your podcasts. And it's really gratifying to be able to hear other people's stories, not just Naval Academy grads either. I mean, a lot of good, believe it or not, some good stories come out of West Point too. And, you can leverage this society of people who have a very common background and have gone on and done really interesting things and learn so much so quickly from them. So appreciate the work that you've done, to kind of set the scene and then come here today and share some of it, as well as some of your more recent efforts in creating job and career opportunities too for people. So I encourage everybody to go just type in SABM and poke around and see all the different offerings that Scott has created there. And then shifting gears, I'd like to introduce Dan Lesniak, O2, who's here in the Washington, D.C. area. Has had a little bit of technical difficulty, it looks like, off and on, but I see him on there right now, and hopefully you're hearing me, Dan, and are ready to do your spiel, if you would.
Yeah, thank you. I've got bumped off once for some reason. I'm at a hotel, and you would think the Wi-Fi would be good because there's not many people here, but we'll get through it. But thank you for having me on, and it's an honor, and always love to connect with USNA grads. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dan Lesniak. I'm in real estate. I've got a team now, brokerage, with we just crossed the 100-person mark. So I think in the last couple of weeks. So our primary business is helping people buy and sell homes, and then we also do real estate training and coaching for agents all over the country. And we have a development company as well. So we have about 11 or 12 condo projects in the DC area that we are developing. And some of you maybe have connected with me about that before. And like Scott, I kind of made two transitions. I got out of the Navy after a career in submarines, one tour at the Pentagon, and I got out in 2009. I was in the process of getting my MBA at Georgetown through night school and their evening program. So it took about 3 years. And while I was in the middle of doing that is when I made my first transition out of the Navy into the contractor world. So I spent a couple years at a company called Systems Planning Analysis, doing acquisition analysis. And I was wrapping up my MBA kind of the last, I think, year and a half I was at that company, and I thought I would make the big leap to strategy consulting for one of the big three, like McKinsey, BCG, Bain. Those were my top choices, and my timing was not good. I finished my MBA in 2010. Not a lot of those types of companies were hiring at the time, and I ended up doing tons and tons of interviews, dozens, and never getting job offers. So my transition into real estate really was something I never planned. I had bought and sold homes throughout my time in the Navy, I think at least 4 times, and while I was doing it for the 5th time, getting a condo up in this area, it was also, the timing just worked out. It was when I was going through this kind of difficult time of interviewing but not getting jobs, and I finally started to ask some of the interviewers why, what do I need to do to have a better shot at this next time? And a lot of them said, well, you should work on developing more sales skills. And I think that's definitely something that many people probably in the military struggle with or are not really told a lot about. Much of the military, of course, is people do things because of the rank structure and the law, really. And it was a little bit different for me. And they pointed out that, hey, this is a weakness you have. Go develop it somehow, some way, with a different experience that you haven't had yet, and come back to us. So I thought, well, I'm getting my real estate license. Or if I get my real estate license, I can help save money when I buy my own house, sell my own homes. I can help some family and friends maybe make a little bit money on the side, and then I'll go out in the year, apply again. That was kind of my plan. So I got my license. I started to market first by word of mouth, but then by other means to the people in the building I lived in. So I lived in a condo building with about 190 units, and I started to market to those people through various ways, and I ended up starting to get a lot of business.
That darn hotel Wi-Fi looks like it let Dan down. I hate to say it, but we'll come back to him. I'm confident he's going to be able to rejoin us. No problem. So, my little involvement with Dan, I think, came out of Scott. I think that's how I initially got introduced to Dan. Started looking into some of the rehab projects that he has going on here in the Washington, D.C. area, and some of those, alternative real estate investment opportunities. Like Dan, I stayed in it longer, but I would buy and sell properties, and I still have some of them throughout my Navy career. And I've never become a real estate agent, but I am kind of getting tired of having to be a landlord. And so as the properties that I manage begin to go down, I do believe in real estate and some of the values there that you can accumulate real estate wealth. And so Dan offers some pretty interesting different ways to put your money in and achieve a nice, pretty solid rate of return off of that for virtually no effort. So it's also worth looking into there, and hopefully he comes back on the net and can answer any questions the crowd might have. And so I would like to shift then over to Bill Militello from the great class of 1982. And Bill's also here in the greater Washington, D.C. area, and has a little bit of a tie to everyone else on the panel, but also a different story about his time coming out of the Marine Corps and some of the businesses he has started, sold, and runs today. So, Bill, over to you.
Oh, thanks. Can you hear me okay, Shelby?
Got you loud and clear, buddy. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, wonderful. Yeah, and just to echo some of the things you were saying about Dan, he runs a great business, Orange Line Living, real success story for a grad that has entered entrepreneurship. I think the world of Dan and his business and his opportunities. And I know that Scott and myself, we've done our best to try to bring some attention to his opportunity. So he's got a great business. Everybody should check it out. I don't know if we just want to keep on rolling here, and then we'll give Dan the mic back. But
yeah, go ahead, Bill, and then we'll double back to Dan to let him wrap up.
Terrific. So my name is Bill Militello. I'm from the class of 92, and I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. My last tour of duty after I got back from 26 and that was in Somalia in the early 90s. My last tour of duty was at the National Security Agency, and I kind of liken my first of my two major transitions. I affectionately refer to it as my flaming reentry into the civilian world. So that's 1997, before there were a lot of transition programs, and so it was not easy. I'll just say it was difficult. Certainly not combat difficult, but a scary time. And it was, and my dream was to work on Wall Street. Well, it didn't happen in '97, and it took almost 2 years of a couple of stumbles, but I eventually did get there. And I was in my dream job, and so I thought, gee, I made it, and then 9/11 happened, and so that kind of forced my hand to make yet another transition. and that was as a consultant to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then eventually I became.
Bill, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you for just a sec. We're kind of losing you in and out just a little bit. You're just a little weak. And Dan and Scott, if you haven't already, I'd ask you to just hit the little microphone button and go mute just in case. Solidify the signal. That's better. Right. Okay. So thanks, guys. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, terrific. I'll just hold the mic up too, if that helps. So I consider myself more of an accidental entrepreneur. And so while I really loved my work on Wall Street as a trader, and I found myself in this dream job, it probably would have been a lot easier for me to find that position had I embraced the network of the Naval Academy and other Service Academy alumni up there. But instead, I was a hard head, and I decided, gee, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to earn it on my own. And you know what? It's life is a lot easier when you know people. Okay, so I highly recommend that you actually use the resources out there, and the things that Scott has done with the SABM group are phenomenal. So use the resources that exist today that will make your transition. If you're currently active duty, or if you're currently in a job that you dislike and you want to get to that next job, or start a company, or grow your business, or whatever it happens to be, gosh, just get connected, right? And I think that this forum right here is another great resource for people to get connected, because that transition into my first, I'll say, real job out of the Marine Corps was tough to come by. I loved it. As I said, 9/11 happened, and before you know it, I was out of a job. I was back in the DC area, kind of licking my wounds and thinking, gosh, where, how could I get back to Wall Street? And so I took a job, as I said, as a port in the storm, as a consultant to the Securities and Exchange Commission, saying, gosh, this is temporary. I'll be back in New York trading before you know it. Well, that didn't happen. And now I kind of was looking around and saying, gee, if nobody's going to hire me on Wall Street, then I'm going to create my own Wall Street, right? I'm going to create my own business. And that's why I said I was a reluctant entrepreneur. And so started my first of 4 companies. I started 4 companies. I've sold 2. I'm operating 2 right now. And again, I was still kind of hard-headed and was pretty distant from the Academy network, right? And really, a couple of things happened, and I'll talk about probably the most dramatic thing that brought me back to back to the veteran network and back to the Service Academy network. One of which I'll say is, I met Scott and I was on his podcast, and I really admire what he was doing. Another, to understand a little bit about one of my businesses, Militello Capital, which is a private equity venture capital business where we invest in commercial real estate. We've done just under $500 million in transactions in real estate, and purchased and sold commercial real estate, and invested in a little over 40 startup companies and 100 transactions. So in that business, you have your good days, you have your bad days, you have your winners, you have your losers, and so several years back,
Bill's left us with a cliffhanger several years back. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. We're going to find out soon, folks. Stay tuned. I'm not sure when he's coming back to us, though. So, Bill, if you're hearing us, we lost you, buddy. You're froze up. We're struggling with the Wi-Fi demons tonight, but, everybody lives this life now, and you understand how this stuff goes. So we're going to, while we got it, shift fires back to Dan. And Dan, you were busy telling us about how real estate was starting to be a thing for you. And I think we could kind of pick it up from there. You're going to save yourself some money, but it was in the interest of learning sales skills, which you're right, nobody really talks about in the service. So have at it.
All right. Well, So I think where I left off was right about where I got my real estate license, started to do business in the condo building that I was in, and quit my job because it worked so well and within the first few months, and I ended up having a great year. I sold a little over 22 million, and then I started hiring people. I hired an assistant and got a couple buyer agents as well. So this was like in year 2, and I started to grow a small team. And actually during that process, I met my wife, and she was in real estate, had a small team as well. We eventually started, merged our teams and grew it kind of into what it is today. And it's evolved into multiple businesses that are all related to different parts of real estate. I think I mentioned earlier the education and training that we do, and we've got a podcast that we put out for that. And now we also do development. So I think, one of the common themes here is that the military does a lot to prepare us for civilian life, but there are some aspects that certainly I think you need to work on and look for groups and other people that have been down the road to help. I'm really grateful for kind of the discipline and consistency that I learned in the military and in real estate. That has paid off a ton for me. It's one of the industries I think where people tend to lack discipline because you don't have that boss necessarily over you cracking the whip. So I think that's, there's many skills in sales and being an entrepreneur where the discipline and the just being consistent every day, that type of training that I think we all get from being in the military helps. There's other things where I think you need to go out to your networks and things like what Scott has put together with SABM and learn from other people that are doing it. And I know that's definitely helped me when I connect with other military entrepreneurs and salespersons, and I guess that's kind of it on the intro and some of my lessons anyway in the last 10 years or so since transitioning out.
Thanks, Dan. That's another great perspective, and I really like this. We didn't talk about this previously, but the idea of sales, right? Even after 3.5 years of doing business development, which is also sometimes something people kind of like. I hear about BD. That's something that the old guys at Lockheed Martin do in Washington D.C., and I'm not really sure what it means. So that's where I ended up, and certainly BD is separate from sales, but you have to understand that mentality and that approach to be successful in that space. And then just a few months ago, I had a small company out of Colorado reach out to me and propose that I join their team as EVP of sales. And first thing I was like, I'm not a salesman. I don't even know how to do sales. But, turns out some of those skill sets apply. And there is a lot of opportunity out there, regardless of whether you're working for a small startup, a big company, doing your own thing or whatever. And maybe it's even a theme that we ought to, build upon here, either in our Q&A or, afterwards. Just start circulating some information because everybody understands the leadership and the discipline and the understanding of the military and how that might be beneficial if you're going into defense contracting or something like that. But just kind of in life, having the sensitivity to understand what somebody is really interested in and having the listening skills to pick up what it is that they're saying and then figure out if you can satisfy that need is something that can probably help a lot of people. So I won't drag that on. Unfortunately, it looks like, according to Scott, that Bill has lost power in his neighborhood, and he was bragging about his batteries, but that doesn't necessarily give him Wi-Fi. So hopefully he'll hop on his phone and be able to join us again so we can get some of these questions and discussion on with him. But I think we kind of got the gist from all three of you that you guys each took your own path you found benefit in the network and listening to and working with others, but in the end, you kind of had to dig down and figure out what was right for you and make it happen, and then build it from there. And certainly the opportunity to share those kind of stories, connect, ask questions, regardless of what phase you're in your transition process or thinking about the next phase in your life, can be beneficial. So, if there's nothing else out of this hour, then we appreciate that share. But kind of switching gears now to the second half, only 3 minutes over with some of the technical difficulties, not too bad. Literally turning around into the second half of our hour here. We've started to see some questions coming in, and I don't mean to miss anybody here, but the ones that are obvious questions, I've gone and put a little Q next to them. So we'll just start at the bottom of my stack and work our way up. And if you guys have any response or thoughts on this, I won't necessarily steer it to either one of you. But Miguel asks, any experience on the panel with government contracting as a veteran-owned business or contacts with those who do? Thank you. So for either of you guys, have you done any government contracting as a veteran-owned business? Or if not, do you know people who do that you might, just off the top of your head, recommend Miguel could try to link up with? Scott, you might be muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll take that one if you don't mind.
Okay.
So we actually just rolled out a new program recently at SABM called 10X Vets, and there's a lot of different. It's really cool. So there's niche groups that meet monthly. So we've got a capital circle that Bill leads for people that raise capital. We have a B2B networking circle for people that call on other small businesses and they help each other with referrals. And I think the next circle we're going to launch is the government contracting circle. So I've got somebody earmarked to lead that I've got a conversation with next week. Somebody I really like and has done a great job helping people win government contracts and getting funding through SBIR and AFWorks and all those different things. So that could be a resource for you. So yeah, I'm happy to set up a call afterwards and would love to connect and learn more about what you're doing.
Great, thanks, Scott. Dan, did you have any additional thoughts there, or should we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I mean, we have not specifically done government contracts or residential real estate brokerage. So the closest we've probably done to that is getting into some military groups and organizations just to give them free educational content, like on the VA loan and housing updates and stuff like that. But we haven't done any contracts with really any government programs or anything like that.
Okay. So Miguel, I suggest you connect with Scott after this, and maybe you'll get an opportunity to participate in his new group that he's standing up, and then we'll keep that one though as a topic. I mean, potentially, if we continue on this format and bring some other people on, that could be an area where we try to bring somebody on that has done the veteran-owned small business defense contracting and satisfy that itch. The next question comes from Tim, and it's for you, Dan. We've heard the debates. Are great leaders born or made? It seems like you took off in sales pretty quickly. Are great salespeople born or made? It sounds like you credit discipline as the differentiator. So is that fair, that discipline is really the differentiator, where there's some other traits? And then, can you make a comment about great leaders, either born or made?
Yeah, I think it comes down to discipline and grit. I think they're made. I don't think they're born. I think some people get into real estate and they struggle, and then they do well. I think my struggles really just happened to come before I got into real estate, and that was really why. And for me, it was just going through that interview process, because my entire life, really up to that point, was kind of dictated on from the paradigm of work hard in school, and then that'll get you into the next school and the next job and so forth. And that model worked for me up until a point, and then it didn't. But kind of getting to that realization, took me failing at getting a job offer after dozens and dozens of interviews, and going to school for 3 years for something that I thought would kind of launch me into that. And I've seen, tons of new agents come in and have a lot of great success, and it's always because they focused on a couple things and just consistently doing them. So I think it's something that you kind of will to happen, and really to say that they are born, I think that would almost be disempowering. I think to believe that. So that's kind of where I fall on that.
Scott, if you want to take up that one at all before we move on to the next question, whether it's, what the differentiators in getting, sales business up and running is, is it discipline? Is it something else? Is it a combination of things? And do you feel leaders are born, made, or both? Got you on mute again, buddy. You're still on mute. Scott.
I'm sorry.
There we go. Rewind.
I apologize. I failed miserably in my first sales job out of the Navy. So there's probably a lot that I had to learn. So I think there's definitely a playbook that you can learn from, different tactics and skills to build. And but I think ultimately, I think it comes down to anybody can sell something that they absolutely love to sell. Like, so if you have a product or you have a service or you're the customer of it and you love it, then I don't care how many sales books. I don't think you need to read any sales books to be able to sell that. So, so maybe like those of you that are married, right? Like, so when you were first dating your wife or husband, and you love them, like you didn't need to read a sales book to like close the deal. So I think it kind of comes down to certainly improve your skill set, but find something to sell that you absolutely love to sell. So.
Yeah, great point. I think, passion for the product. We can all go out and do some pretty crappy things in the military and still love it. Put up with everything you have to do, whether it's the helo dunker that you despise or all those other little bits of training that just make life fairly miserable, because in the end, you get to go out and fly or whatever the thing is, right? And so having that passion rings true to people, I think. And then back to that kind of grit and resilience Dan was talking about, there's a certain amount of thick skin, right? People who sell stuff can't be afraid to be told no and to be disappointed, but you get back up and you move on to the next opportunity. So, we learned that stuff plebe summer, and it's not hard to exercise it. You just have to keep it in perspective. Okay, so a couple of other ones here. Going out, this is an open-ended one, so both of you can comment, but John asks, going out and starting your own business seems risky. How do you hedge the initial risk when you're starting your own business?
I'd say started something on the side. Dan started his real estate business as a side hustle. I started what I do as a side hustle, and then at some point you're going to have to make the leap, but that takes a lot of the risk out of it for sure. So Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's definitely one way to do it, to start it off as a side hustle, have another source of income, and just realize you're going to be working long days, but there's a lot of time between 5 or 6 p.m. and 10 or midnight or whenever that most people probably blow. I think the average American now is watching like 37 hours of TV a week. That's like a pre-pandemic stat, so maybe that's gone up. I don't know. So that's almost like a whole nother work week that the average person has out as a side hustle. I think another way would be to save up a lot of money before you do it, before you cut off your primary source of income. And I think you know, like Scott said, at some point you're just gonna have to kind of burn the bridges or the boats and go for it. And usually when your back is up against the wall, I find that your chance of success is greater because it just triggers something in your mindset that, you know, you're all in and you're going to recruit more energy and more effort and resources to accomplish it. So at some point you do have to kind of pull the cord and just go for it.
Yep, and then, you know, there's other traditional things like bringing on a partner to share the risk, getting some pretty good investors up front, having retirement income or some other stream of income that allows you the confidence to go assume a risk like that. There's a bunch of different things. It's so tailored, I think, to the individual and what your situation is, and are there capital outlays, or is this something that you can kind of pass the risk through? So that's another rich topic area. I'm sure there's quite a few books on it. So the next one, this is an interesting one, and something I learned through Dan, but I can't wait to hear the answers on this one, because I think a lot of people start, you know, you kind of come through your career, you get to a point in life where maybe you have a little bit more income that you want to put into some different type of investments, and everybody starts to wonder, okay, you know, how much money is enough money? What does it take to get into these different kind of investment vehicles or partnership discussions? And so Kyle, from also the class of 92 and a 46 guy and a hell of a good man, says, for Dan or Bill or Scott, what amount of money would you expect to start having investment partnering discussions? Is it 200K, 500K, greater than $1 million? And then Juliana, which is the tipper giveaway for Julie Vita there, I know, is what Kyle said. So two people at least out there wondering, how much money does it take to get into one of your investment opportunities here, guys?
Well, I see a whole lot of different opportunities. I mean, it's not any of those amounts. It's usually a lot less. So it kind of depends on maybe what the opportunity is and what round of fundraising a company is at. But I mean, I've seen some where, like, I've invested in an Academy grad deal. Actually, the angel investor in Zoom is a Navy 72 grad out in Silicon Valley, and he launched a new company, and the minimum investment in that one was like $10,000. So I've seen those, and then, you know, upwards of, you know, if investment banks or somebody's in their later series rounds, the investment minimums are a little bit higher. But I think that was the question. But how about you, Dan?
Yeah, so we do raise money for the different condo developments that we do in DC and Northern Virginia. Our minimums on those projects are typically $50K. For people that do significantly more than that, we give them even better terms, and that's really, those projects are typically like passive investors, limited partners. We do have other partners that we have started some joint ventures with in other things related to real estate, and some of those we've started with just a few $1,000s, and they've done quite well. So it just depends on what it is, and you know, what is the partner investor, you know, just a limited partner just investing money they've accumulated, or are they actually running a business and operating and helping? So there's a lot of different things. We're probably actually going to start looking at acquiring businesses in the local area, just because we've got 1,000 homes we're selling a year. So almost any business locally we could inject customers into, and so really it just depends on the deal and what the other person is bringing to the table, what their role is. You know, is it limited? Are they active? And you know, I've invested in a lot of, you know, other people's deals as well. I think like I think I probably have like $0 in the stock market. So everything I do is like either in private deals or my own deals or companies or cash.
And Dan, just while we're on that topic there, in the light of COVID and your very focused market around the Washington, D.C. area, can you give, because most of our audience here is in this D.C. area, a little bit of an oversight about how things are doing with your investments in the market writ large over the last 6-8 months? And then also maybe just a little thumbnail about what one of your deals kind of looks like from a time and cycle and how many investors and, that kind of thing.
Sure. So the market's been like the best it's been ever, really, since I've been in real estate. There was a little bit of a pause, perhaps, in transaction counts, but definitely nothing happened with prices, like right at the beginning. But our team switched to virtual appointments, Zoom appointments, and for a while, that was predominantly what we were doing back in March and April. Most everything now is kind of back in person, but I think you saw this phenomenon locally, at least, where demand was the same or went up and supply went down, because there were definitely some sellers that were afraid of the idea of multiple buyers walking through their homes. So we've seen tons of bidding wars in DC, Arlington. Like even one of my agents even had a bidding war situation in Warrenton, Virginia. So that's a little bit further out, and still kind of had multiple offers and whatnot. So the local market has been really good in our area, and it's typically a resilient market. I wasn't in real estate in 08, 09, but I was in the area, and you didn't see much of a dip, really, peak to trough, even back then, maybe 10% for the things inside the Beltway. But certainly now the market is doing great. Most of the deals we currently have are probably going to close, like finished products anyway, in Q1, Q2 of next year. So I expect that this trend continues, that those will hit higher numbers than we've even put on our pro formas. The way we typically structure a development deal, right now we're really focused on like 6 units to 15 units. So we're looking for condos that are buildings we can turn into condos that'll have 6 to 15 units. That's a really good space for us because it's too small of a deal for a lot of the big guys to play in, like JVG and CBRE and other bigger firms. They're not going to touch a 10 unit, 15 unit deal. So, and it's too big for the small guy or the person that's just starting out, or maybe took a course or something, and they're just starting to flip homes. So it's too big for those guys, too small for the bigger guys. So we typically have really good return on cost, 30% or more, and we go out, we finance the deals with 75-80% bank loans, which are right around 4%, and we raise 80 to 90% of the rest of the equity from limited partner investors, and we pay out a preferred return of 15%. So our model is to structure them so they get all of their return after the bank before me and the developer get anything. And we typically have quite a bit of margin because of the low cost of capital on the main loan, and then just the fact that we're getting deals that have a 30% return on cost. They're typically about 18 months, I would say, is the average length, and then that's about it. We're acquiring about 1 project a month right now has been our pace for the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's great, Dan. Thanks. And it's kind of interesting, like you described it, that 6 to 15 unit space, bigger than, most of us as we move around. We're looking for, the single family unit that we're going to live in for a couple of years and then maybe hold on to and rent later. And the big developers don't want to mess with something that small. So you kind of fill a unique niche in the market and provide a valuable service. So I don't want to make this whole thing about real estate investing, but I thought it would be interesting since we had a little time and since we've lost Bill to fill some of that space too. So thanks for sharing that. We have had another comment here, another question from Tim. And Scott, this one's for you. He's saying, any resources in your circles for independent consulting coaching?
Sure. So we've got, depending on who the clients are. So if they're small businesses that have between 10 and 250 employees, we have a B2B circle, and that could be a resource for you. Kind of structured a little bit like BNI, a lot cooler. Mostly, I think all Academy grads, or definitely, all vets, mostly Academy grads, and everybody in the B2B circle represents a different line of business. So there's really no competition amongst the members there. And once the first circle fills up, we just start a second one or a third one. So there'll always be a spot for somebody. So if that's who you're looking to help, then that could be helpful. Or if there's not a circle, that's a good fit. We also do a monthly community meeting. Some people just join the monthly community meeting as well. So a couple of different options for you.
All right, thanks, Scott. And Scott, I see you've answered for Miguel there in the question chat. It's the 10X Vets page link. So thanks for handling that for him. And I put out a call for any additional questions. No one else has come through with any. We're down to our last few minutes here anyhow. So I guess, to kind of summarize, it's unfortunate we lost Bill, but he's easily discoverable on LinkedIn, or you can type in Militello Capital, or you can reach out to me, Scott, or Dan, and we can connect you if you have any specific questions for him and the type of investing that he does. I know one of his recent projects was the one down in Tampa. I kind of followed that one. It looked like they identified a property that has a pretty high rental or renter rate and a track record of rental income. And they go get a bunch of people to invest in this, and they acquire that property with a lot of due diligence and then manage the property, and you benefit on a monthly basis from the income stream from that investment. So I didn't end up investing in that one, but that's another model, one of the many ones that sounds like that Bill has out there. And Dan or Scott, if you guys have any additional detail on that type of model or what Bill does, by all means, feel free to jump in on it. I just wanted to shed a little more light on some of Bill's work.
Yeah, he's got just a great amount of experience, both on the venture capital side and also on the real estate side. I mean, so normally some people just focus on one or the other, but the diversity and the types of businesses that he understands and the whole fundraising behind him, he's one of the best that I've ever met. And I mean, the Tampa Bay project they bought the Tampa Bay Times building, which is a prominent building in Tampa, in the Tampa market, which, I invested in that one. But he's a great guy to follow. Just kind of see what he's doing, and I'm sure we're all Academy grads. He'll take a call with anyone. So I put his email address in the chat in case anybody wanted to follow up. It's a shame that he cut off. The story was just getting really good. So he left us with a.
Yeah, we might have to have him back for a guest appearance. I feel like I'm streaming a couple series right now, and one of them stopped, and I kind of went back to Dan's, and I was able to finish that episode, so that was good. So I guess in closing, this was our first one. Despite some technical glitches and power outages, et cetera, we managed to fill an hour. We got a pretty good turnout. I think we had over 50 people register, something like 54. I don't think we got nearly that many out tonight. I'm sure for various reasons, either technical difficulties logging on, dinner ran over, probably not stuck in traffic. We probably aren't going to use that excuse today. But at any rate, I hope that those that did dial in got something out of this and follow up with all of you guys as great resources and, people who are committed to the greater alumni body, sharing the experience, sharing your network, sharing your knowledge, and trying to make the community a better one. So, if we get some good feedback from the team, then we're likely to pull another group together and make this more of a recurring thing. So hopefully everybody got something out of it. And I know I had a lot of fun. It's really good to see you guys face to face and hear your stories and the things that you're doing today. You know, I have bits and pieces of all of it, and I've followed each of you for various reasons. So thanks again for committing to the time tonight and sharing your news and, you know, continuing to give back as people reach out to you guys. So thank you.
Thank
Sheldon.
you. I
right.
enjoyed it.
Go Navy. All right, everybody, have a great night and be safe. Signing off here.